Hello there, and you're very welcome to another episode of the Arkham Avengers Fantasy Football Premier League podcast. You join me, the host, along with Eamon and Hector, where we take a look to see how the managers in this league are getting on in their quest to be crowned the champion 2021-22. Well, good evening, listeners, gentlemen. Nice to have you back. Thank you. It's very nice to be back, so it is. Another episode. It's a quiet week with the international breaks on. No football, but we're here as always. That's right, yes, we are here, and it's nice to be here. I want to give a big shout out to everybody. Yes, indeed. I think, we've got an interesting show tonight, lads. And I think our listeners are really going to enjoy this. But before we go any further, can we give a big thank you and a big shout out to all our listeners? We had listeners for our last episode in Ireland, the United States, Germany, Canada, the United Kingdom, Pakistan, Comoros. They all took the time to listen, and for that we say thank you very much. Sorry, what was that last place? Comoros. Where is that? This is an island country out in the Indian Ocean. One of our newest listeners. I've never heard of it in my life, so I haven't. Well, now, Eamon, there you go. We have listeners coming from all over the place. And you know something? As the old saying goes, you learn something new every day. You certainly do. Now, Eamon, how are you after Bernard's email? You got a little bit hot under the collar last week. Are you okay? Yes, I'm perfectly fine. And look, Bernard is entitled to send in his email. But I also am entitled to defend the stance that I take and the views and the comments that I give out about the managers here and even the players also. Well, you certainly do that, Eamon. We cannot say it, but you have a way of expressing it. Yes, I have a way of expressing things, Hector. That's me. I express things. I'm not going to hide out. And I mean, if Bernard wants to send in an email or anybody else, please feel free. I certainly will take whatever they're putting in the email and I respond to it. Okay, well, that's all very good. That's very good. Anyway, listen. Yes, we mentioned Comoros. I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. Now, this also features because we have a new manager joining the Arkham Avengers Fantasy Football League. They will be coming in Gameweek 8, and they come from there. And look, can we give a shout out to the manager, and we welcome Devon to the league. And I mean, listeners, if anybody else out there, and I think we've already discussed this, lads, you don't have to be a professional. You could be maybe listening to the show and decide, you know what, I might stick a team in for the crack and see what goes on. See what Eamon or Hector has to say. Look, there's no problem with that. We look upon new managers very favourably here. Some of our more experienced managers should be doing things. Anyways, Eamon. What I'm saying here is that we're going to close the window to join this league. We're going to close it down Game Week 9. So if there's any managers or any listeners who are looking or would like to join, all you have to do, send an email to arkhamavengers@ffpl@gmail.com. We'll reply to you with the link and the code, and you'll be able to join. And that's it. And as I said, we're going to close it now from Game Week 9 on. I think it would be only fair at that point, wouldn't it? Well, probably, yeah, it probably would be. You hardly want somebody coming in midway through the season and suddenly, upsetting the apple cart here. Well, look, and you know something? It might be no harm for some of our managers to realise that we have listeners, and listeners who are joining. We're getting a great traction, so we are in Twitter as well. And I think it's all doing well, and it's good, isn't it, Hector? Yeah, it is very good. I always say the listeners are what make us tick. They listen to us, they come back every week, and that's it. Also on the show, we have another interview with one of our managers. Yes, I'm going to be talking to the manager, Blithesome Squad, and I'll be having a chat with them to see what they picked up last season and what have they planned for this season so far. Oh, look, that's very good. I'm looking forward to that. This is going to be good. Yeah, we had Jerry a couple of weeks ago, so it's nice to see that we have another manager here. Hopefully some of our other managers will join. Would they? Well, we put the word out. We can only ask them if they want to be interviewed. There's no problem with that there. Can I say one thing here? I know listeners might be interested in this, is that, last year we only had one female manager. And this year, we have 3. I think that's very good to see the female managers joining. Hector, you raise a good point there. It is good to see. It's nice to see that, pardon the pun, there's a bit of a level playing pitch here. We have the female managers in and we have the male managers. It is good to see. And I was just thinking before the show, and I think I was discussing with Eamon there. that, when you're looking at the managers this year and our listeners, there's a family feel to the show. Although some of our listeners, they may not be involved in fantasy football leagues, or they mightn't be involved in any league. They mightn't be even thinking about putting something together. However, they're on a journey with us and with our managers week in, week out to see how things are going and where we're all going to end up. And I'd just like to thank you, Eamon, and you, Hector, our managers in the league, and our listeners for being with us on this journey. Well, thank you. It's very nice, and it's a pleasure to be on this journey. And it's interesting to see how our managers get on. Yeah, I'm very pleased, and I always say a big shout out, to all our listeners. A big shout out to listeners up in Monaghan and Scotshouse. Our listeners, go a big shout out to them over in Swords, over in Dublin as well. Very good. Thank you. And to Clear Galway, I think there's new listeners over there in Clear Galway. Thumbs up, high five. Eamon, as you said, we have no game week football on this week. The international breaks are in place, and game week 8 is going to be starting on Saturday. Can I come back to a comment that you had in our last show? And you were talking about the big hitters, especially the big hitters up front. That got me thinking, are some of the players really not performing like you'd expect them to be? And does this leave managers having to consider using their wild card for game week 8 and also trying to determine what players to select on their teams? Yeah, I did say that the big hitters are not performing. And I mean, when you look last week at Lukaku, Ronaldo and Antonio, they didn't really do much. They didn't perform. They were a disappointment and a letdown. Now, for me, if I was a manager, I'd be concerned about that sort of result, that sort of performance, the impact that they're having. And I think, when you have to look at these forwards, I'm gonna take Lukaku for a start. Now, this guy is priced at 11.7 million. He's played 6 matches so far. He's managed 29 points. He's played a whopping 540 minutes, and he's only got 3 goals to show for it. Now, that's a lot of money put out for a guy. And when you think about the like of Antonio for West Ham, he costs 8 million. He has 49 points. He's pretty much played the same amount of time. I think there's a couple of minutes in it. And he has 5 goals and he has 4 assists. Now that's a player that's sending a return. Now, okay, he didn't have a great week the other week, but overall he's performing. Even Vardy, I think he's been slow to get going. But Vardy, even for 10.5 million, again, he has 48 points. He's in around that point. He has 6 goals and 1 assist. Even the guy from Newcastle, Alan St. Maxim. Now, some people are writing this guy off, but he's worth 6.8 million. He has 37 points and 2 goals and 3 assists. And, I think managers are going to have to sit back here. And as I said this before, with the international break, this is going to give managers an opportunity to breathe and say, are these players doing it for me? There's a guy who's taken my fancy here. It's Hee-Chan Huang. He's playing for Wolves. Oh yeah, I've heard you mention about him earlier on. Yeah, this guy is worth 5.6 million. He's only played 4 matches. He's played a few matches less than Lukaku. He's 24 points. He has 3 goals. Now, our buddy Ronaldo, and he's coming in at a whopping 12.6 million. He's played 4 matches and he only has the 22 points and 3 goals. Now, you tell me which one of those guys is worth the money. Well, I suppose you'd have to weigh it up. I mean, it's a lot of money to put out there, isn't it? It's a lot of money, and if you're not getting a result out of that investment, you're going to have to start trimming fat off there. Hector, would you agree on this? I would. I think you're right, Eamon. I think there was a lot of hype with the Lukaku coming in, the Ronaldo coming in. And if I can just carry on here, I think you have to say these guys, for the big money, they're not really doing any much there, so they're not. Now, we'll also have to take in their fixtures and see who have better. Some people will say that Chelsea going to have better run. That's not going to really mean that this guy Lukaku is going to do good. He kind of gone a little bit off the boil. And he's also picked up a bit of a muscle injury. There's a doubt he might even feature this weekend. Yeah, there is that as well. You want to have that sort of money sitting on the bench. Now, of course, if you haven't got a wild card, you're kind of stumped. Well, yeah, you're kind of stumped, all right. Well, you might have your free hit, and you might have been smart enough to keep a transfer or 2. And if you have, well, you'll have 1 transfer anyway. And if you have kept another transfer, you could do a little bit of chopping and changing. People are going to play wild cards. People are going to lose points because people are going to have to make changes. Hector, I see you're looking to come in there. What is it that you want to add here? I want to pick up something. Eamon say, the Ronaldo come in. If I move from the forwards to the midfield, I want to say that I don't think any of us are going to argue. Salah, he is the main standout player. Yeah, indeed, he is. Look, he's 70 points. I mean, he's leading the way back there. But what I want to say is, I look here and I see that from game week 1 to 3, Fernandes and Greenwood were doing business. The Ronaldo came in game week 4. These guys have not been doing anything. In fact, the Greenwood, if I'm right, he was scoring game week 1, 2 and 3. When the Ronaldo come in, he stopped scoring. Yeah, that is right. Hector's onto something here. Hector, good man. Yeah, the Ronaldo effect, I think, is impacting on Man United because Greenwood has actually shut down and doesn't seem to be doing anything at the moment. And Fernandes is the same. And I think that the arrival of Ronaldo has set an unlevel balance in the team. Now, can they get that balance back? I think that probably Solskjaer tried to get some of the balance back when he had Ronaldo on the bench. This could be a big factor. We could see this a lot more. Really? You think so? I think so, yeah. Okay. So when you're in the midfielder there, right, okay, you're going to have Salah. I think it's agreed. Like, you need to have Salah in the team. Where are you going from there? Well, for me, I think that, and people who are going to laugh at this, I think the Son at 10.1 million isn't a bad run. He's got 42 points so far. He's got 3 goals and 2 assists. Now, I think he's performing and going to do well there. Another guy, and this is a guy I would be putting down as, a star player to get in, is Sarr from Watford. So Sarr is the star, is that right? Yeah, that's right, yeah. He's going to be the star. Look, he's 6.3 million, but he has 40 points and 4 goals. You weigh him up against Fernandes, he was 11.8 million and only has 38 points. And he has 4 goals and 1 assist. My money is on Sarr. Greenwood, as I'm going to say, he's 7.6 million. He only has 36 points. And he's just stopped. 3 goals and 1 assist. These guys are just not hitting the mark and not performing. Hector, is there any other midfielders you'd be looking into? I like Conor Gallagher from Crystal Palace. He is around 5.7 million. He has 34 points. He has 2 goals and 2 assists. And a guy I am really, really impressed with is Andros Townsend from Everton. Yeah, this guy is good. I like this guy. Townsend is worth around 5.6 million and he had 43 points. He had 3 goals and 2 assists. Yeah, now that's the guy you want to have on your team. That guy is doing the business. Not like some of those other sunshine lads who are not coming out to play here. Okay, Jesse Lingard isn't doing much this season, is he? No, he's not doing anything. I think he's, when you look at last season, he had 106 points, 9 goals and 5 assists. I think he's featured in something like 3 matches, 14 minutes and has 2 goals. It's criminal that he's not playing more. I think he just needs to say to Man U, let me get out, let me get to a team. He might, somebody like Newcastle might come in for him now. True, it would have been, there's a takeover and everything there. They might come in from. Can I ask, what about the fella Decore from Everton? Would he be one now that you'd be interested in? Yeah, he's 5.7 million, isn't he? That's right, he's 5.7 million and he's 43 points, 2 goals and 4 assists there. You guys have spoken about getting the assists. Yeah, we have. Yeah, it's the assists are the important factors. Scoring goals is important as well. What about the defence side of things there? Oh, by the way, hold on. Nobody mentioned anything about Man City. What have you forgotten about them or what's the story? And look, Man City, they're like a Pandora's box at the moment. You wouldn't know what was going on there. Grealish is about the only one who's played consistently, but he only has 26 points about. For the amount of money that he's worth, and he's going down on price. I think, in fairness, I'd stay away from Man City midfielders. Definitely probably until about game week 12 or 13. At that point, I'd say Pep knows what he's doing and what he wants to do. Do you think, hold on a second, are you trying to say that Pep doesn't know what he's doing at the moment? I don't think he does. I think he's rotating and putting in, guys there. I mean, he had Torres, as I was saying before. He's a good player. And he hasn't featured in a couple of matches. What's the problem there with him? Nothing. I think Eamon right, I think there's a little bit too... And Chelsea are, also a team that could be doing this as well. Okay, so there are 2 teams that you'd be saying, I'd watch out slightly. Well, I would only say if you're going to select a Man City player or midfielder, you're going to have to do a lot of thinking. Will he play or not? So anyway, the defenders then. But for me, I think Cancelo from Man City is a player that you should be looking to get into your team. He's 44 points at the moment. He's played 6 of the matches. He's 2 assists and 5 clean sheets. Alonso in Chelsea was doing fairly well. Nothing in game week 7. He had 39 points, but he had a goal and assist. I still think he's probably worth a punt. One guy who's really impressing me is Janssen from Brentford. At 4.6 million, he has 38 points. He has 3 assists and 3 clean sheets. And Brentford are now showing to the rest of the league that there's a fight with this team. And I like the look of them there. And I mean, I suppose Shane Duffy, Brighton, it's like he's not doing too bad. Like he's reasonable at 4.3 million, isn't he? And it's 35 points, isn't it? And a goal. I think he's an assist and 3 clean sheets. Yeah, I think he is worth the punt. Yeah, he'd be a good player to have on there. Okay. And there's a lot of talk about Alexander-Arnold. Like he's 7.5 million. Is he worth? Like a lot of people say that they want him in the team. Is he worth it? Well, this is what I'm wondering. He has 35 points from 5 matches. He's 2 assists and he has 3 clean sheets. Is he worth it? He's a little bit pricey, but I suppose if you're a manager and you think, yeah, I'd like him in the team, then like that's what you want. All right, okay. There's a player that I thought is probably not a bad player. I don't know what you think, lads. Is Sergio Reguilon from Spurs. He's 5.1 million. Like he's not a bad player either, is he? He's about 30 points, 1 assist and 3 clean sheets. I think like Spurs had a bit of a bad spell, but they've settled themselves now. Would he be a player now? You'd factor Eamon. Yeah, he's certainly worth a go. I think Dyer is also quite good. So either one of those would work there. All right. Now then, when you're talking about the goalkeepers, who would be your go-to goalkeeper? Well, for me, I will go for Edison. Man City's, 6 million, but he had 35 points and 5 clean sheets. Very good. I will have him. I probably also then be thinking about Hugo Lloris from Spurs. He is cheaper, 5.5 million, but he had 35 points as well. 3 clean sheets. Eamon? Yeah, either one of those goalkeepers are quite good. I'd also think about Alisson from Liverpool. I know he's in around 6 million. He has 35 points. I think he's 4 clean sheets. He's worth a look. And like you can't forget about Raya from Brentford. He has 30 points, but he's still a bargain at 4.6 million. And as I said, they're a team that are showing a bit of a bite at the moment. All right, okay. So they'll be sort of the players that you'll be looking to maybe think about bringing in for game week 8 if you could. Yeah, certainly I'd be considering those players. All right, okay. Now, with the fixtures coming up, what are the teams that you'll be looking at thinking they're worth a look and maybe some of their players are worth bringing in? Well, I certainly think Brentford are there. Chelsea look like they'll have a nice run. Leeds are not going to have a bad run either, and it was interesting that, they managed to turn their season around a little bit. They've had a very rocky start, but they did get a win. They've had an international break. It would be nice to see them coming back with a win and going on a run. And if they go on a run, they have a nice few fixtures. Southampton are there, Wolves and Arsenal are there also. And I think Everton and Brighton are there as well. And Norwich. So that pretty much leaves the other teams that you wouldn't be really factoring in are who? Hector, you going to step in here? Well, I think Man United have a few tricky fixtures coming up. Man City have too, as well as Liverpool and Spurs and Watford. Okay, so, but that's, well, what you're saying there, with the like of Watford, so would that now be putting out that, what's that fatty become? Sarr, isn't he Watford? You wouldn't be bringing him in. So, no, you mightn't bring him in, but you might bring him in as well. Like, just saying, there'd be fixtures you'd be wary about. All right, okay. Well, listen, that's very interesting there. Now, okay, our next guest is back for their second season as a manager. Last season was their first year to join the Arkham Avengers Fantasy Football Premier League, and it's a pleasure to welcome Blithesome Squad's manager, Gráinne. Gráinne, you're very welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here.
It's very nice. Thank you for taking out some of your time. I know you'll be quite busy and you should join us here. Now, as I said there, 2020-21 was your first time as a manager. And as a manager, your job, of course, is managing week in, week out, selecting players, choosing your captain, your vice-captain, dealing with all of the substitutions that go along, the injuries that come in there. When you look back at last season, how do you feel you cope?
Well, overall, I don't think I had a bad first season. At one point or another, I held first, second, third and fourth position, and I finished the season in fourth place. So I have been informed by some of the more seasoned managers in the league that fourth isn't a bad finish for my first season. I certainly came into fantasy football last year with very little knowledge of the Premier League itself and absolutely no knowledge of fantasy football. So I was happy enough with my overall performance for a first timer.
Yeah, not too bad at all, I'd have to say. And yeah, look, we think it was an achievement. You did lead for quite a long time there, and finishing fourth for your first season, I think Eamon and Hector would agree you didn't do a bad job at all on it there. You mentioned, of course, like when you talk about joining the league and the knowledge of it there, did you find that, of course,
depending on the level of knowledge you have, it could hinder how you are making decisions, how you are approaching the game as such.
I suppose, yes, it could. I suppose for myself, I feel I've learned lots from last year, coming into this new season now this year. What have I learned? I learned that your team, they're only as good as their last performance, I suppose, between injuries to star players, rotating players in some Premier League teams. And I suppose the one thing I found is there really is no such thing as finding the perfect squad. And that the team that may bring you points in abundance one week, well, they could forget to come out of the changing rooms the following week. So for me, keeping an eye on your team each week, I suppose even before a game week commences, works best for me, myself. And you can check then if you have any injured players or make some changes if needed. I suppose another area I have much more understanding about this season is the whole area of the chips. This is something that I was clueless about last year. And I really learned lots as well from your dedicated episode explaining the chips. So thanks for that, and tell the lads I said thanks as well.
Oh, we will.
I suppose that the extra knowledge will stand to me this year. And to be honest, I also learned not to take it all too seriously. I've enjoyed the fantasy football throughout the lockdown last year. I enjoy watching how my team perform and how all of the other teams, how they are performing. And I really enjoy the game week analysis now from yourself and the panel, who may, I add, have much to offer with regards guidance and advice for newer managers like myself. And I know I mentioned there your episode on how to get the most from your chips, but I have to say there's always a little nugget or two in each episode. So thank you to yourself and Eamon and Hector and that as well.
Oh, you're most welcome. There's certainly nuggets, all right. There are 2 nuggets most of the time that join the show there. I have to say, especially when Hector goes off on one there talking about baking cakes the last time. Anyway, we'll move on here. So, as I said, you finished 4th last season. You had a respectable 2,078 points. And for a first-time manager, look, it's acknowledged by us here in the studio, and I'd say the other fellow managers in the league would also agree. That's a successful season, so it is. Should managers now really be trying to identify a cheap or a mid-ranged player? Like you put your team together here now at the moment, and you're trying to balance the lads in and out there. Is there a market? There must be a market, is there, for a mid to cheap ranged player to fit them in there, one who might actually perform a bit?
It has been extremely difficult putting a decent performing team together with the huge hike in price for some players. I suppose like Salah is 12.6 million, I think, and Lukaku is around 11.6 million, both of whom I have on my team. And I believe Lukaku is currently injured at the moment as well. And then you have the like of Ronaldo and Kane, both I think are in around or over 12 million. And I feel, to be honest, I think they're very much overpriced based on their recent performances as well. Like at least Salah is being much more consistent this season and is scoring goals and providing assists as well. So yeah, the price rise is definitely a huge challenge when putting a team together. And it's not getting any easier with the so-called overpriced star players. And then they're just not performing. And there's very little left, I suppose, to buy other players from the 100 million budget when these players are I suppose they're draining the pot.
Yeah, true. I'd say the lads would agree with you there on that.
To be honest, especially for newer managers, it takes a little while to find those players. I suppose you go looking to see, and we all assume that those that cost that bit more should be performing, for you, that they will bring in the points for you. So it takes a little bit more time and effort, if you like, to go looking to see those kind of mid-range priced players. But by far, when you find those nuggets and you look at the points, I suppose, and see, never mind the price, who is actually bringing in the most points each week. And they're the ones to kind of look at. And also, I suppose something I did learn as well is to look at who they're playing and which are the supposedly easier games for them, and then maybe look at those lower priced players.
Now, 7 game weeks have been played so far to date. Currently you have 375 points. Tobaggers 6 are in first place and they have 452. So there's, there isn't a big gap there. There is a gap, but it's not overall a huge, unassailable gap there. And the overall leader of the Fantasy Football Premier League stands at 569. Where would you like to see your team when another 7 game weeks have passed and we're starting into game week 15?
Ooh, good question.
That's why I have asked that. Our listeners want to know here now.
Putting me on the spot now. Look, I'd like to see myself in the top 5, I suppose, really. Last season, Robbie, Jerry and the spoofer himself, as Eamon calls him.
Now, look, can we leave him aside one moment here? That fella just gets too much mention at the moment.
Devil a bit. Well, I suppose they were the main competitors towards the end, anyway, of the season, I suppose. And but this season, there's quite a few new managers there, and they're shaking things up a little bit, and a number of returning managers as well that are performing well too. So, well, we don't know how things are going to progress. Like you've Raglan Road, there's Legion 11. They're 2 new managers who are performing particularly well so far this season. So it is difficult to say where anyone will be placed come game week 15. Really, yeah, I do think it'll be very close, and I wouldn't rule out any one of the teams at this point being in the top 5 come the end of the season. Like you have, is it Lafayette Lions? They started, I think it was a week after the rest of us. And like they're currently in, I think it's 11th position or something like that, and they're rising. So everyone has every chance of reaching the top spots in the Arkham Avengers League. As for game week 15, do I really have to answer? Do I?
No. Our listeners probably would like to know what your aspirations. I mean, are you going to try? Would you like to see? I suppose the question is here. Would you like to see yourself in first or second place going into game week 15?
Well, I think there'll be a bit more movement on the table over the next few weeks. I do believe that. I am hoping to hold my current 5th place position, and sure, who knows, I may even climb up the table a little bit. Like I suppose we said, I finished 4th last season, so it would be nice to stay in the top 4 or 5. But as I said, it's very competitive this year, and I suppose only time will tell where I land. I suppose in the meantime, I'll just continue to have some fun, and of course keep tuning into the wise words of yourself and the panel to help me out along the way as well, and sure, we'll see where I land.
We'll do our best. Well, listen, Gráinne, thank you very much, as I said, for joining us, for giving up your time to have a chat. I hope that our listeners are going to go away and take something from listening to a manager who is still relatively new. I know we spoke to Jerry a couple of weeks ago, and Jerry's a seasoned manager as such. But for a listener who might be thinking of putting in a team, or maybe they have joined and this is their first season, I think that they'll come away and they'll have picked up something from your experience. And for that, we say thank you very much.
Well, thank you. I hope so.
Not at all.
It has been very enjoyable.
Very good. And look, we wish you all the best. And we hoped that, you're going to put a good run together. And who knows, you could be lifting the trophy at the end of the season, or you could be one of the medal winners for 2nd or 3rd place.
We'll see. A fine trophy it is too. So we'll see. It'll take a lot to knock Jerry off, though.
Never say never is what they say. Gráinne, as I said, thank you very much for joining us. Have a good day and good luck with game week 8.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Take care.
Well, now, lads, that was an interesting interview. Do you think? Yeah, I have to say it was a very interesting interview. It's nice to actually hear the manager.
Yeah, I like to hear that.
Hold on a second. You get a chance to get a word in here edgeways, so you will. Hector.
I know I will, yeah. I get word in, all right.
Hector. Lads, hold on a second. Eamon, you were saying about hearing the managers. Yeah, it's nice to hear the managers. You know, we see them week in, week out, and you see them making changes to their teams. Kind of get an insight into some of the managers.
That's right, you get to look into the whole lot of them.
Yeah, hold on a second, Hector. I'm just talking here. If you can just hold on a moment.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, you go ahead, you talk. I talk after you.
Thank you, Hector. But yeah, it is nice. It's interesting to get an insight into the manager, discussing what they've learned, what they're doing. Also, how they think that they're going to perform, or you always get little nuggets of information. I think it's very interesting. I find it interesting. I like to hear the managers. Now, Hector, talk away.
Thank you, Eamon. Yeah, I want to say, I always find that when you hear a manager talking, you can hear the enthusiasm. It's infectious when you hear it there. It makes me think, you say, oh gosh, I wish I put team in there, so I do. Nice to hear it. I wonder, are we going to have any more managers? You have maybe manager next month?
Well, we don't know yet. I mean, I did put it out for some managers if they wanted to be interviewed. Now, it hasn't come to fruition at the moment. That's not to say that we won't have an interview. We'll certainly do our best for our listeners.
I tell you something. If you can do this, I'd be really impressed. If you could get the spoofer on and interview him. Now, that's a guy I'd like to interview him.
Now, Eamon, I think perhaps maybe if you're running the show sometime, you can start that interview out yourself, because I'd say there'd be fireworks going there constantly. Oh, I tell you something, I was bound with what they say, a bowl of crisp popcorn. I used to back and listen. I think it'd be laugh a minute, or would be the Hector would just lie here. How he roll around floor with him and trying to interview a spoofer. Can you understand how he go around?
Listen, this would be a good one.
No. I don't know about that now, but look, we'll see if we can get some other managers.
No, you got to try and get the spoofer. Come on, you've got to do it. If the listeners, if you want to hear the spoofer, let us know.
Okay. I think before we all get overexcited here, and before Hector starts going off making popcorn, I think we'll start to wrap it up.
Look, Spoofer, if you're listening, I'd like to interview you. I can't interview Hector, will I? Hector, I'll give you the question.
Eamon, I go to my own questions and you will look after your own interview. Alright, okay, that's enough. Okay, once again, gentlemen, thank you for joining us. And again, we thank Gráinne, the manager of Blithesome Squad, for taking time out for the interview earlier on there. And we'll be back next week with a review of Gameweek 8, see what's happening. As I said, we have a new manager joining. We might have another manager in before the Gameweek 9 closure comes about. And if we don't, we have 15 managers. We'll work with that, won't we?
Then we will. We'll work with that. And then it's great. Be great. Be nice to see what this new manager does. No pressure on them.
No pressure on them at all there.
Okay, lads, thanks very much for coming in. You're welcome. Always a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, thank you very much. Nice to be here. You look forward to coming back next week, and I say ciao to everyone. All right, okay. And listeners, once again, thank you for joining us on today's show. If you want to get in contact with us, drop us an email, Arkham Avengers, ffpl@gmail.com. We're on Facebook. Just do a search for us on there, Arkham Avengers. And we're also on Twitter. Our handle on Twitter is @Arkham Avengers. And if you want to follow us, send us a message there. Feel free. So until the next time, thank you, take care wherever you are, and have a good day.